know you had something that you wanted to talk about, but
Oh, we were talking about how people misunderstand what people mean when they say do niche marketing.
ah,
Like we were talking about that. I mean, that was weeks ago because we don't do this very often anymore.
believe it or not, yeah, yeah.
I think people believe it. I think it's been like a year and a half since the last video was uploaded, so I'm pretty
But
sure everybody.
there's still fans. There's still people that want to see it.
One
So
hopes. Yeah, I think so.
we finally got you an assistant, admin
Yeah,
assistant that's going to
yeah.
be hopefully doing some editing for us. And
Yep.
we'll see how that goes.
I have it scheduled on my calendar to start working with him on training him how to do video editing on Wednesday of this coming week. It is scheduled in the video training time. So
Awesome. But yeah, let's welcome everybody back to the insurance panel once again. We've got a couple videos in the pipeline. Hopefully they haven't aged too much, but Nick and I wanted to jump on here, just have a chat, uh, just talk about what's going on in the insurance industry as always. And I think Nick had a really good topic to bring up, which is, you know, people misunderstand what they mean by niche down.
yeah, yeah, yeah. People people are like, um so you see this all the time, like when people start talking about, like, what do I do, how do I focus, how do I niche down, and you then see people coming out and giving advice and saying stuff like, well, you shouldn't only sell final expense, you should, because then you're leaving money on the table, or you shouldn't only sell, term insurance, because then you're leaving money on the table. Be better for your clients than selling one product. And I don't think that's what anybody means when they say niche down. Like, I don't think anybody means like pick one product and that's the only thing that you ever do ever. I mean, maybe it is what some people mean. I don't know. That's never what I meant. Like,
Well, I I mean, I know where you're going with it. I will say that maybe early on, someone should just focus on one product.
well, yeah, while you're learning stuff, right? But that's not a that's sort of a crazy business model, right?
Sure.
Like have one thing that you sell and only one thing that you sell. I mean, you might as well be going around selling windows at that point. That's not what we're doing. We're financial service professionals. We're doing something a little bit bigger, something a little bit more interesting. I think.
Yeah, it's similar to going back to your underwriting method of, for a while only sell one carrier, if you will, and figure out where those niches are, and figure out what's going modified. And eventually you'll find out that there are other things out there. So maybe what you're saying is like, focus on selling one thing for a while, whether it be final expense. And what you'll realize is that you're niching down on the type of client, the type of
Yeah,
person.
that is exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
You want to sort of focus on who your ideal client is. I mean, the product that you sell is sort of secondary, right?
Right.
You're like, when people talk about, the value of riches and niches and stuff like that.
Sure.
When people talk about that kind of value, you're not getting that value from being a product specialist.
Right.
From like knowing everything there is to know about final expense insurance. That is not providing you with just a ton of value.
Right.
Um, I mean, I can tell you everything about final expense insurance in like 2 sentences, and then everybody watching this video will be a final expense insurance expert. The price never changes, it never expires, and when you die, it pays. That's everything you need to know. That is, now you are now a product expert on final expense insurance. There's nothing
Yeah,
else to know about it.
people are going to die,
Yep.
and the people that you're talking to more than likely don't have anything in place. And the question is what are you going to do? What's going to happen when you pass away?
Right.
Who's going to take care of it?
That's it.
And if you learn how to ask that the proper way without being, I don't know what the word is. I think you can be forward about it. It's a very serious topic, but without being like, you know, you're going to die soon, Miss Jones. You get it discovered. That's a weird sense of urgency, but it's like, hey, I know you've been thinking about this because they have. People
Right.
pass away all the time and they're getting older. What are your plans? What have you looked into so far, and what are you trying to get out of today's conversation?
Sure. Right. And when you start doing that, you start to realize that you are talking to the same type of person over and over and over again.
Mhm.
So if you are a final expense agent, the people that you're talking to are going to consistently be people who are between the ages of 55 and 79, ideally, maybe a little older, maybe, but hopefully not so much.
Sure.
Um, you're going to be consistently talking to people who make $30,000 a year or less, probably had a blue collar job when they
Yep.
were working, but are now no longer working,
Yep.
either because they're on disability or because they're retired and living off of Social Security with no backup income.
Yep.
Um, and that's your client base if you're a final expense agent. And your niche is not small whole life insurance. Your niche is that client profile.
Correct.
Somebody who makes less than $30,000 a year, doesn't have anything in savings between the ages of 55 and 79, possibly on disability, but if not on disability, receiving Social Security, probably not working. Right? That's your client base. So the value of having that person type and that profile as your client base is you can then start being like, okay, what else is valuable to that person? Is, well, odds are they probably need Medicare. Health insurance is probably valuable to them.
Yep.
Odds are they probably need dental care. Dental insurance is probably valuable.
Yep.
Odds are they are looking to leave money to be remembered by after they've died, in addition to funeral costs. So there is value in selling legacy.
Yep.
There is value in multi-year guaranteed annuities. There's value if they've got savings.
Sure.
There's value in single premium whole life if they've got life insurance that has large cash values. There's value in those types of things. What there is not value in are products that are going to generate them income because they don't have enough savings for that to be worthwhile. Term life insurance, because they're too old or too unhealthy already. They don't have short-term needs. They are already looking at long-term planning.
They don't need large whole life policies.
Large whole life policies, infinite banking, bank on yourself,
Yep.
universal life policies. These are things that are not valuable. Probably ACA, honestly, like Affordable Care Act stuff, probably not valuable. If they're under 65, they're probably receiving Medicaid. If they're over 65, they've got Medicare. Like ACA stuff does not make sense for them. And then long-term care plans don't make sense for them. They can't afford them. They are either too old, too sick, or too poor. Right? Like this doesn't mean that you can't have conversations about those topics to lead to things that would make sense to them, but then you understand like what is and isn't appropriate to start learning about, because the world of insurance is vast. You don't need to know about everything. You just need to know what's valuable to your clients.
Right.
And that's where you can kind of start becoming an expert in your little corner of the world.
Right.
That's not the only niche that exists. That's the one that I know about, but like you could decide, hey, what I want to do is work with doctors who are just getting out of med school.
Yep.
Within the first 5 years of having left med school, I want to talk to doctors. And so then you're looking at, yes, probably universal life, indexed universal life. Yes, probably income generating annuities, probably disability policies. It's a whole different world of stuff. They probably need ACA because I don't know if they're getting health insurance through the hospital or if they're an independent practice. I don't know doctors. This is not my niche, but there's other things that make sense for them that would not make sense for final expense agents.
When you talk to financial advisors, they're not really even wanting to talk to somebody unless they have like over $150,000 to $200,000
cash to invest.
Cash.
Yeah. Liquid.
they don't want to even talk to the person.
Yeah.
And so that's their niche. Like they
Yeah.
don't even that's their it's not they're just doing one type of investment, whether it be CDs or whatever it is. It's they're talking to people that have money.
Right.
That's their person. So you got to find your person, whatever that may be. If you're probably watching the insurance panel, it's
Probably Final Expense.
probably senior citizen that make less than $30,000 a year. And that's okay. That you can make a there is riches and niches. The niches, those type of people.
Yeah.
And once you start selling final expense, again, I came from just a only selling final expense, one product, one carrier. That's all I knew. But what I found was as I was running into people who would ask me about their healthcare, who would ask me, do you do this? And I'd have to go, oh yeah, I know somebody that does this. I'll have them follow up with you. I didn't even know people that did it.
Right.
Right. When I peered away from that company, I realized there was so much more out there, and I was just kind of being guarded from it. And so when someone tells you, "Hey, you need to niche down and only do one product," it's because one, they were never taught any differently, but two, they probably have a financial goal tied to you only selling that one thing.
Right. Yeah. No, definitely. Right. And and it's like you said, not bad advice when you're getting started. You have to learn somewhere, right? So if you're brand new, learning how annuities work, learning and which types of annuities are appropriate, learning how to fact find for them, learning how Medicare works, learning the difference between MedSups and Medicare Advantage and what's appropriate for who, learning all the various different plans in your county, learning how dental plans work, learning how to find people in dental networks and plans that don't have dental networks and what the difference between them is and what the pros and the cons are, learning how critical illness plans work and what the difference between a critical illness plan that only covers one illness, a specified illness plan versus a multiple critical illness plan, and ones that have cash returns versus ones that don't have cash returns and what the pros and cons are. Like learning all of that stuff and how to sell it on top of it, in addition to learning the underwriting for the various final expense insurance carriers and how to sell final expense insurance, which is, let's face it, a complicated and difficult sales process. Not complicated, I guess. Complicated's not right, but an involved sales process, a sales process that requires some education in sales. That's a lot to take on when you're brand new. And this is the other thing that's sort of endemic in the insurance industry is like all the advice, all the received wisdom, everything that anybody talks about is always geared towards new agents. There's a lot of stuff that is how to sell insurance 101. And then there's a lot of stuff that's like how to sell insurance expert level. And there's not a lot of stuff that bridges from how to sell insurance 101 to until you become expert level. So like 90% of the stuff that you find, there's not like, you don't see a lot of people talking about like, okay, I've been selling final expense successfully for a year and a half, 2 years. What now? You know, how do I go from being $150,000 a year final expense producer? I'm making $100,000 a year pretty consistently. Where do I go to take that next step? Other than, hey, start recruiting.
What would be
because hey, start recruiting is not a good choice. It's not. I don't think it's the best choice for most people. Most people should not be recruiting.
I honestly believe this, like without a shadow of a doubt, that if you shouldn't be trying to recruit. People should be coming to you.
Yeah.
Nick, for the very longest time, did not want to do anything remotely and still doesn't, even on the final expense side when it comes to an agency. Right?
Yeah.
But
no, I don't.
But on the Medicare side, it's like people are coming to him because he has learned how to bridge the gap from consistently selling a lot of final expense and also being consistent in the Medicare. and so people come to him. I was very fortunate to be successful in the final expense world, and I guess my niche was I was good at marketing. I was one
Yeah.
of the first people to do Facebook marketing a long time ago. People would flock to me to try to learn what I was doing. Um, and I didn't really ever recruit. I didn't go out and say, you should come work with me. People would approach me. I don't think that you should ever be going out to Walmart's or whatever it is in a gas station and going to somebody go, hey, you want to make $200,000 a year? To the
Right.
person at Sonic when you're getting your lunch on a Tuesday afternoon because you're in the field, it, they're making $12 to $15 an hour. Whatever you just said means nothing to them.
Yeah.
They're going to look at you and go, look at the douchebag that went through the Sonic drive-through and told me I'm making $200,000 a year
Right.
driving a Ford Focus.
Right.
I,
Yeah. Oh God, I remember you just brought back this like vivid sense memory of going out with the first guy that recruited me into the insurance industry, who became a very good friend. And I liked him very much. And he passed away a few years ago, and I miss him all the time. He was a great guy and a really good friend. But he recruited me into a captive agency where recruiting ultimately was the only way that you could get ahead.
right.
That it was like they knew that the business model was so hard for the independent agent, their particular business model, that if you didn't get to the point where you were building a team and they gave you a base salary, they gave you a $75,000 base salary once you'd built a team, in $2012, which was a really
It's
good
pretty
base
good.
salary. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, so like getting you to the point where you built a team was like the goal. Um, but I remember going out to lunch with this guy when he was taking me on like his recruiting pitch to hire me. And our waitress was like, we were in like a mid-scale, like nicer than Olive Garden, but
I
but
got
not
it.
like super fancy.
I got it. Yeah.
Um, and like she was a super friendly waitress. And like when the check came, he like instead of just handing her the check, he handed her the check and then like put his business card on top of the little
Yeah.
check
Yeah.
holding thing and was
Yeah.
like, hey, by the way, you are so good at this job and you are so good with people. And if you ever want to start making real money, give me a call because you would be so good at doing what I do.
It's so
And,
cringy.
yeah, yeah. And
Ugh.
like I look back on that now and I'm like, oh my God, how did I not just run? like that's terrible. But
I have recruited people like because like whenever people come into town to come visit us,
yeah,
I'll take anywhere between like 8 to 15 people at a restaurant at a time.
yeah,
And I consistently go to like the same restaurant because they know who I am, they do a great job,
yeah,
blah blah
sure.
blah.
Makes sense.
And after the third or fourth time, the waitress is like, "Okay, got a quick question for you. What do you do? Because I see you in here all the time and you're
Right.
always paying for all these people. I got to know what you do." And I'm like, "Oh, we do insurance." And she's like, "Is it a good business to be in?" And I'm like, "It's a great business to be in. It's very tough, but if you have the right mentors, you can totally do it." That person now works with us.
Nice.
I never
But
was
that's
like,
different.
I never handed the car with a business card. I just came in there, was always nice, and
Right.
they do
They came to you.
exactly when you're doing enough things that people notice.
Yeah.
People know who you are. They've seen your trainings. They're doing something. They see you consistently in your community, helping people out, whatever it is. That's when people will start coming to you to work. And I think it's a much better way to recruit.
Yeah.
One, you don't have to beg somebody to come to work. Perfect example. Someone reached out to me and said, "Hey, I'm fed up. I'm not getting any help where I'm at." I said, "Hey, look, full transparency. I'm not going to be the one to recruit you, but my younger brother, who's been doing this in the field for a couple of years, he's right down the street. Reach out to him." I just got a message 2 days ago, and she was like, "I learned more with your brother in 5 hours than I did over the last year working with people."
Yeah.
I never tried to recruit that person. I just said, go work with him. I never said, get contracts. I said, just ride in the field and see what he does.
Yeah.
And now that person is like like ecstatic, like, oh my goodness, I can't believe it. If you do the right thing, I don't know. If you do the right thing over time, people will come to you and they want to work with you. And then the flood starts. And when the flood starts, Nick, how about it? You get to the point where you're overwhelmed with people.
Yes. Which is where I am now. Like I never, so like the Medicare agency that I started, I resisted even saying that it was a Medicare agency that I was starting for like the first 2 years that I was working with people, because like this was not what I wanted. This was not my plan.
Right.
But people kept coming to me and they didn't have there aren't a lot of people out there that were able to help the type of people that were coming to me.
Right.
There's not a lot of other people who do what we do
Right.
well. Um, but they come to you, and I'm working with, more agents than I can handle. Honestly, at this point, I'm hiring help.
Sure.
I'm legitimately like, hiring assistants and admins and stuff and paying people like good amounts of money to help take some of the workload off. It is, but I've never asked anybody. I've never gone to anybody and said, "Hey, why don't you come learn how to sell Medicare?"
Right.
Like, and when people come to me and say, "Hey, can you help me learn how to sell final expense?" I point them to this YouTube channel, and then I point them to like 2 or 3 other people who can handle their final expense contracts, because I still don't even want that.
Right.
It's just, you know, um, that's the way that it should be. I used to say a lot, like, you shouldn't start recruiting until you'd written $1 million in final expense, which gets misinterpreted. $1 million is just a substitute for time. And um, I don't think enough people keep track of their presentations for me to be like, until you have presented to, you know, 10,000 people, don't recruit anybody.
Right.
Until you've been in the field for 3.5 years, presenting to, 12 to 15 people a week, every week, 50 weeks a year. Don't recruit anybody.
Honestly, until you've done something long enough that you can duplicate yourself, you should not even be attempting to recruit.
Where you will have an answer to any question that anybody is going to run into. Where when somebody calls you up from the field in a house, there's no possibility of you being like, I don't know. And
Correct.
you don't know with 100% certainty what the right thing for that person to do is.
Yeah.
You shouldn't be recruiting anybody. It's irresponsible.
Yeah. Whew. Went on a rant on recruiting, huh? That's good.
Yeah, a little bit.
That's
No,
good.
it was solid.
Where were we going with that
I
before?
don't
Because
know.
it was a tangent. It was good. It was
Yeah.
good though. It was all good. Don't recruit
Yeah.
if you've not been in this business for basically a year and a half to maybe 2 years, when you can consistently say that I have made X amount of dollars and I've given X. I'm consistent in whatever I do on a month-to-month basis, and you could take somebody and show them how to do the exact same thing. Just don't recruit. That's really what we're trying to say.
Yeah.
And when you do that, when people come to you, it's way easier to recruit. Two, when you do recruit or when they come to you, you can show them exactly what you're doing and duplicate yourself. And then you only need a few of those people to actually make a decent number of overrides.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, question for you.
Yeah,
This is
sure.
what I was going to ask before that. Speaking of like going into different products or different things within the same client, right?
Yeah.
I've seen a lot of people recently uh, on Facebook groups, whatever it is, saying, if you run into a client with an annuity, you don't know how to sell it, I don't mind splitting the commission with you. Reach out to me. Do you think that on an annuity sale, you should be giving up that commission to learn it, whether it be half or whatever the number is? Or do you think that the carriers have enough people on staff that you could reach out to help you do that business?
It I suppose it depends on who that person is.
Sure.
Um,
They're not even saying
most,
they're not even
yeah,
saying they're not even saying be in my downline. They're just saying
yeah, they're just saying I'll go
get me
50-50. Yeah,
the
like,
client in front of me and
yeah,
we'll split the deal.
we'll do it as a joint deal.
Right.
Um, so here's where that would be a good idea. Annuities take a type of babysitting that most final expense agents don't have the patience for.
Agreed.
From like the time that you submit an app until the time that it gets issued and you get paid. Like, most annuities require you to deliver the annuity in person with a signature and return it before you get paid. Not all, but most. There's a level of babysitting, like final expense agents will just like let that annuity sit in the back of their car for like 6 months before they could deliver it.
Even though
So
it might be like $6,000 to $8,000
yeah,
sitting
yeah,
there.
right, yeah.
Because final expense agents are just used to one call closes.
And moving on and moving on and moving on. And like there's a little bit like there's more paperwork. There is a level of work involved in most annuities. Again, not all.
Sure.
That most final expense agents don't have the patience to deal with. Now, the other thing is for the most part, annuities are not appropriate for most annuities are not appropriate for most final expense clients. Annuities are the way I was taught to think about annuities by my father, who has been selling annuities since 1981, at a high level, still earning convention trips 2 this year for annuity carriers. Annuities are the opposite of life insurance. Life insurance is protection in case you die too soon. Annuities are protection in case you outlive your money.
Yes.
Most final expense clients, by the time you have met them, have already outlived their money.
That makes sense.
Most final expense clients, by the time you've met them, if they've got any savings at all, it's 20, 30, maybe $100,000, maybe $100,000. Probably not $100,000, probably $20,000 or $30,000. Often less. The reality is for most annuities, that's not enough money to do anything with.
Correct.
That's not enough money to create an income stream. That's not enough money for there to really be anything to protect.
That makes sense.
So if you know that, a simple multi-year guaranteed annuity, which in 2023 is a good idea, in 2022 would have been a bad idea. And like from 2008 to 2022 would have been a bad idea. But a simple multi-year guaranteed annuity where they're going to earn 4 to 6% interest guaranteed for 3 to 7 years, you pick. That's simple enough. You can do that on your own. You don't need to do joint work on that. That's basically, there's nothing to know,
Right.
They put money into the account. Don't touch it for 5 years. Otherwise you pay a penalty. It's going to earn a guaranteed rate of interest for that period of time. And this is what that rate of interest will be. Super simple, very easy. If you're a final expense agent, if you're a final expense agent, you can do that by yourself. Don't do joint work. They don't pay very great commission. You're looking at 2% commission or less for most multi-year guaranteed annuities. Occasionally a little more, sometimes up to 3%, but usually 2% and down for a multi-year guaranteed annuity.
Yep.
Anything more complicated than that, odds are it's not appropriate for your final expense client, and the insurance carrier is probably not going to be able to tell you whether or not it's appropriate. And in those cases, go ahead and split those. Find somebody who really knows what they're talking about, who is willing to show you how to. If you're splitting the commission, learn something from it.
That's what I was.
If you're splitting the commission, learn something from it.
Don't have them just
teach
do the
you.
sale.
Right.
You got it.
Yeah. Have them teach you what they're doing. Learn a little bit from it. Have them explain to you why it's appropriate. Do the split, do the joint work, let them do the babysitting, let them do all the compliance, let them do the heavy lifting, because on anything more complicated than a multi-year guaranteed annuity, there is heavy lifting. I would say those are good ones to split, as long as they're willing to not just take the sale, walk away, and write you a check. Have them teach you something. So that way eventually you don't need them to. You will run into people where it is appropriate occasionally. I write annuities every year. It is occasionally appropriate to write something that's not a multi-year guaranteed annuity.
Is question about that. You
Yeah.
brought up your father. Is he still doing Facebook ads? Is he still having success?
Oh
in
man,
that?
yeah. Ooh.
That's awesome.
Facebook ads to a pre-recorded webinar that leads to a funnel that leads to self-enrolled appointments on his calendar, like doing bonkers. Like,
it's awesome.
Yeah, he needed to. So he's a cancer patient. Like, not very serious. Like, his doctors have told him, you're, as long as you stay in treatment, your cancer will never kill you, but it is incurable. So it's like, it's not bad, but he needs to be in treatment for the rest of his life, otherwise it will be bad. So he, after the pandemic, was like, I can't go see people face to face anymore. I need to come up with a different way of doing business. And so he switched to this whole webinar model, and it is like, he's happier doing insurance sales than I think he's been in the last 10-15 years. He's like, it's so much easier. I love it. So
that's awesome.
Yeah,
super happy for him. I know he was like more vocal about it maybe a year ago, maybe a year and a half ago.
Yeah. He's living his life a lot more now.
It's good for him.
Yeah.
I'm really happy for him.
Yeah, he kind of knows what he's doing at this point, and like no joke, like he and my mom went to Mexico with, I think, LSW, and now they're heading to Canada with Midland Financial. I think they're going to Banff. I'm not positive. They go places all the time at this point, and like, I can't keep up. They feel like they're always off traveling someplace. So
that's really good. You know, learning how to do your own marketing, I think, is a skill that you should at least know what goes on behind the scenes. It doesn't necessarily mean that you need to do your own marketing.
No.
But if you're in a position like he was in, where he needed to do something, and similar to you, like when COVID hit, you needed to figure out your own marketing.
Yeah, something different.
But now that COVID, let's just say COVID's gone. I don't really know what the term is, but do you do your own marketing still?
No. I don't have time for that nonsense.
Exactly. You don't. It's like
it's time consuming. It's hard. I'm really glad that I did, though, because I have an understanding of how a lot of this marketing works that most people who are buying leads don't have. And so I can talk to lead vendors and like understand what is and isn't actually possible, and how stuff works. And when they tell me they're doing things, I can also sort of see through like what's marketer BS and what's like actually
correct.
real.
Me and you had a conversation this week about a lead that I'm testing out.
Yeah.
And you were like, yeah, just go here and do this radius because you should get about this many people.
Yeah.
And it was nice to have somebody that knew what they were talking about, because most of the time when I'm talking to somebody, I'm like, this is kind of how it works. They're like, well, I don't get it. Why can't you just keep me in a 1 mile radius, like a direct, you know what I mean? You're like, I understand that you need something, but here's what you should be able to encapsulate.
Right.
And so understanding and knowing what goes on behind the scenes does help you know when you're getting taken advantage of. And I think that's important. I wouldn't tell anybody to go do your own marketing, because I think it does ruin overall. It ruins the cost of leads. 5 years ago, the cost of a Facebook lead from a vendor was $10 to $12.
Yeah.
Some vendors can't even get their own cost below $15 in transparency.
Yeah.
So learn learn-ish your own marketing, understand what's going on so you don't get taken advantage of, but it doesn't mean spend most of your time trying to do your own marketing because you'll lose. Yeah.
Yeah, even if you never run your own leads, it's probably a good idea to like go play around with the Facebook lead generation software. Same thing with direct mail, man. Like go talk to lead vendors. A lot of these lead vendors, if you call them up and ask them how their processes and systems work, they would be happy to tell you. Like call up, Chris from Lead Concepts or Chris from the Lead Connection. Why are lead vendors' names all Chris? Call up call your favorite lead vendor, mailbox power. I don't know. Is not the one that I'm thinking of. Main Street Power Mail. I don't know. There's a lot of lead vendors out there. Call up your favorite lead vendor and ask them to just talk about what their process is. Like they'll tell you. Like they'll talk to you about that all day long. No, there's a ton that goes into it.
And they're very proud. They're very proud of what they have pulled off.
Yeah.
We have our own mail house, and I forget about it sometimes, and then I go there and I'm like, holy crap.
Yeah, there's a
crap ton. Like things are moving like at massive paces just to get one order out. It's kind of wild to make it all work.
Yeah.
Like the scanning process, the PDF reader, all these different things go into just making a mail piece. And that's why it helps you understand why leads cost so much.
Yeah.
And when you understand that your cat is
I know.
But
this is where she just like hangs out all day when I'm in the office. She's just like
good for her.
Yeah.
But I think maybe that's where I think we're 45 minutes in or so. I think we're
something like that.
I think we're on the tail end of that. Maybe this is a good conversation, maybe not. Let us know in the comments. If you like Nick's cat. If you don't like cats, let us know in the comments. If you saw my dog earlier.
Yeah, the dog was Mojito was hanging out.
Yeah.
Yeah. This has been nice. We will probably do more of these. I think we're gonna be doing these again.
Yeah,
I think so. So
it basically I just had Nick and I were talking. I was like, just let me put it on my calendar so I don't. If it's on my calendar, I kind of live and breathe by my calendar. If it's on my calendar, I'm gonna be good. So, we'll just start putting regularly on the calendar, or at least talking about it once a week and saying what time are you good for this week, and just try to figure it out.
Yeah.
Because we enjoy doing this, whether you believe it or not.
Well, and it's been like the last time we were putting these up consistently was 2021 at this point. We've put some up in 2022. We've put one up, I think, in 2023. But the last time it was consistent and regular was 2021. It's been a long time.
But we've been doing this since
17
or 18.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. I think end of 17 is when we started. Yeah.
That's kind of crazy.
That's insane.
That's cool. All right. Well, thank you again, guys, for joining us. Like, comment, subscribe, all those good things, and we'll talk to you soon.
All right. See ya.